we are going to start with the demo of MSBI session here. As per the discussion, we are now trying to look into the technical concepts, what MSBI consists of, and what exactly tools are there in market about MSBI. I mean, similar to MSBI, and what does this MSBI helps you with? As we saw earlier that MSBI is used as an ETL tool to provide intelligence to the business. So the intelligence, like we saw, there were a lot of Excel sheets dumped into one location, and we tried and analyzed the Excel sheets, and on top of those Excel sheets, we were able to find out the exact result. What product is in high sales demand and what product is in low sales demand. So accordingly, now with that said, MSBI is the business intelligence which provides the intelligence to the business, and it consists of SSIS part in it, which is used to do the ETL part. Now what is ETL? ETL is extracting the data, either it is in text file or spreadsheet, mainframe, Oracle, or it can be in other databases as well. We are trying to extract the data from different heterogeneous data sources, and we are trying to transform the data using some kind of transformations, what we would be looking at today with some kind of examples on it, and then loading the data in any of the database or an OLAP or OLTP system. Now, once we begin with the system of trying to create the project, we basically use BITS, which is Business Intelligence Development Studio, used for this process of ETL. So when you go into the start menu, in all programs, you will have the Microsoft SQL Server installed, and if you go into it, if you drill down, you will have a BITS platform available so that you can open it. So once you open it, you will have one good tool available for you provided by Microsoft. Here you can create the project, or you can open all of your existing projects. So this is how business intelligence is configured in your menu. With that, you also have SQL Server Management Studio in place. If you drill down, you have SQL Server Management Studio as well, wherein we'll use this Management Studio to rather extract the data from this Management Studio pointing to the database. So this is the Management Studio, and let's say we don't have anything right now, and if I am able to trying to connect it, it's asking me what basically you're trying to connect to. Is it a database engine? Is it an analysis services, reporting services, integration? What exactly? So let's say my data is in database engine, and you have a local host here. In real time, you will have a development environment available. So you are going to connect to a database engine through this application called SQL Server Management Studio, through an authentication called Windows Authentication Mode. Though there are different type of authentication modes, we'll go in great details in later sessions. So I'm trying to just connect it, and you have all the databases listed in here. So let's say you have a database which you can either use as a source or as a destination to extract or load the data. Now, this Business Intelligence Development Studio, when you click on the existing project, or if you want to create a new project, you can just go on in creating a new project, and you can give the name, what project you want to create, new SSIS project. And in here, you have different type of creation stuff. So I'm going with integration services, just opening it. Now, once you do that, you have this development platform opened up for you. If you see here in tools, if you go in tools, you will have different kind of control flow component since you are in a control flow tab. Similarly, you have data flow tab, you have event handler tab, you have package explorer tab. We will go in great detail with all the tabs in later session. So for now, if we go in the toolbox, what you have available at the very left hand side, you see different kind of tools here again available. So we'll see that, but we'll go with the module what we are trying to start up with now. So now let's say, since you have, these are just the components available on the control flow tab, but the concepts are also very important for us to understand. So you have, apart from SSMS in business intelligence, DTS packages, which were earlierly, used in 2005 SQL Server bits environment, which used to have an active script task also. Basically, those tasks was not having control flow in it, so everything was consolidated in one same flow, which will decide on your logic, which will take you to the control. So that was the earlier, designs how SQL Server bits have installed earlier cases. Now it is very simple in today's world to just go in and add the flow with precedence constraint who would be handling these flows, and we will be navigating the classes. So with that said, let us move on with the concepts what we have in our SSIS functionalities. So there are a lot of concepts. Let me walk you through the major concepts what we have right now in place, so that we may capture all the things in this session. So we have to create packages. Again, what are packages? What exactly they do? These are just to make sure you have all the tasks inside one package. And one package, when you create a package, you will have, this is the package created already by default for you. If you want, you can rename it. So these are DTSX packages. So earlier it used to call DTS, which we used to utilize by ActiveS script. Now we are using it as DTSX packages, and this package consolidates of the whole project what you develop here. Now that is what about package is all about. Now we move with the control flow. In control flow, as we discussed, this is the control flow tab. This is the data flow tab. Majorly in control flow, you have components, and these components are basically to loop through, the files, to loop through the database tables, anything you can do, whatever you want. According to the business requirement, we can loop through the files or the database or the tables in the database. And once we loop through this functional, these are the processes which we define, but the data, where exactly the data flow is in data flow task. For that, you need to drag and drop your database data flow task here. So we'll come into that, but we'll look into what are other things we have here. Precedent constraint. Let's say this is the data flow task, and this is trying to truncate my table before I go ahead and load the table. So now after loading the table, after truncating the table, what do you want to exactly do? What I want to do is I want to insert the data into the table. So this is how these precedence constraints are configured. Now let's say in case this is failed, this insertion got failed, what I want is I want to send a mail to my manager saying that the insertion didn't happen today with one timestamp, and that timestamp I will be taking it one variable. Okay, but this is on failure, it's not in success. This is how in control flow the constraints are configured. Now there are other types of configurations in constraints. wherein you can basically go with expressions as well. These expressions basically defines the value. If it is equal to the value which you are producing, then it will pass or it will fail according to the process what you define. So this complexity earlier were used to handle an ActiveX script using codes similar to .NET what you have. You used to basically write if-else statement just to do this precedent constraint. So that's the advantage. Since we are in the new era, we have things in place which are already automated. So these are all about constraints and containers. As we see in control flow tab, we have all the containers available. There are 3 different types of containers available on the top itself. One is for loop, one is for loop, one is sequence container, and another is for each loop container. What are these containers? We will go in detail once we start the process. There are a lot of connection. Let me just show you a basic, tell you a basic example of for and for each loop container. For loop container is wherein you provide the maximum looping value. In for each loop container, let's say there is a file landing folder which you want to loop through. Today the folder is loaded with 10 files, tomorrow 10 files, third day 10 files. So suppose you made it 10 as maximum looping files. The looping is made till 10 levels and extracting the files. Let's say someday the files are loaded till 12. In that case, your system will miss those 2 files. So that case, we will go with for each loop container and point to the file path, which rather takes you irrespective of how many files are loaded or landed in the location. We will be able to extract all the files, whether it is 10 files, 13 files, 25 files, it will be able to extract all the files, and it is automated here. So this is the basic difference from for and for each loop, and this is also an interview question asked in interviews. Now let us start up with other things what we have in place. Connection managers, these are basically used to point your source or the destination. In the tab here below you see connection managers. You just right click it, and what connection manager would you like to go with? You would like to go with OLADB, which is the connector for SQL Server, Flat, ADO.NET, a lot of connectors available here. So you can go with any of the connector, and you can go in the connection property and you can navigate. If you don't want to use the existing, you can create a new connection, and in here you can give the server name and what is the database would you like to connect to. So a new connection is created for you here, which specifies the database name. If in case it's a flat file connection, you just go here and give the flat file connection. So these are all about connections and how do you work with connections. Now let us move on with, once we are done with a basic understanding of what control flow is, what our toolboxes, containers are, precedent constraints are. Let us move on with what is data flow and what exactly it consists of. Now before I go ahead and talk about data flow, let me also talk about ETL here. So in data flow is the actual ETL process we are going through. ETL we saw in earlier cases. What does ETL say? If you come in the earlier, it says extracting the data, transforming the data, and loading the data. That is what we do in the data flow tab. So let us see what exactly the toolbox consists of. It consists of the data flow source. Let me minimize it so that you can have an idea of ETL. Data flow sources means we extract the data from source. So it is of extraction part, and this is of transformation part, wherein we transfer the data, and this is of destination part. So basically we have 3 different parts divided the whole ETL is. So if you go inside the source, what things you can extract, you already have it here. You have an ADO source. If you just navigate and hover over your pointer to it, you will see one quick annotation available. What it is doing, what it is used to extract the data from Excel workbook, extract the data from relationship database, which is SQL Server, extract the data from flat file. So these are the sources, different sources what we have available in our source list. Now if you are going into transformations are used to basically clean your data, transform your data. If suppose an example of transformation is you have nullable columns in the source and you don't want the nullable columns in your destination part. So these kind of transformations are carried out in transformation block, or there are a lot of duplicate values, let's say, and you do not want duplicate values. So these kind of transformations, cleansing of data, cleaning of data is taken care in transformation. And if you go in transformation, you will find a lot of other transformations which you can use in SSIS. So once you go into the transformation tab, you have all the other transformations available in here. And these all transformations are specific to their functionalities. And you can have a lot of different functionalities in each of the transformations. Now, destination part, as you know, once we do the transformation, we extract it, we transform the data, and we have to load the data. To load the data, we'll go with data flow destination tab. And if you see in destination tab, you have a lot of other components available here. So these components are used just to load the data, not to extract the data, but to load the data. So this is the basic ETL what we will be going through in our training sessions. So when we go with these sessions, you also have a lot of other things which you can configure. As you can see, another tab called variable tab, and this variable tab is basically used to configure dynamic values. Dynamic values, let's say I'm just getting the get date, today's timestamp. Okay, and the value for it is, I'm just assigning a value, whatever value you want to assign, you can assign it here. Okay, it is automatically taking today's time. But in properties, you can give it as a get date, which will rather take you to your dynamic. Today is 7, so the value will be changing. For tomorrow it is 8. Now how to work with the properties and how to work with the expressions, we will go in great detail in next session. Now these are all about variables. That was a simple variable what I have explained you, but there are a lot of different other variables. Similarly, you have parameters, civil handlers, package configurations. Now when we go in the details, you can see what other things we have. We have source. This one is coming from the control flow tab, and it shows you few details available of each task. Now you go into container, it says the same what I have just explained you about for each loop container. What is a task? Task is set of work assigned, right? So whenever a task is assigned to you, you are basically performing some operations there. So that is what it is. And how about precedence constraint? We just saw in our project, just a simple example of how we navigate through other different tabs of data flow. How the data is flowed, and when we come here, we see 3 different things, which are again ETL process, which I've just explained you. And if you come in here, you will see in the data flow, you have extract, which are source, transform, which are in transformation place, and destination, which are in destination, which are used to basically load the data. So these all things are in place, but importantly, we will be looking into few of the transformations and few of the sources. So let's say we are basically trying to develop a package, a simple package, and this simple package is trying to insert the data from one table to another table, let's say. And now I'm trying to connect to an OLEDB source. It's taking some time to connect to it. Now you have the source available. You open the source and it's asking for you to do the connection manager. So it's asking whether your connection table is it in the same connection manager or not. So in my case, it's not in the same connection manager. So what I can do is can delete this, not interested in this. I am moving with a new connection, and in this connection my table is in Adventures Works DW. You can test the connection if you want, and it's successfully connected. Now in here you will find the other different tables, whatever tables available here. So I'm interested going with customer table. Now if you want, you can preview the data in this way. And the data is these many columns you have in the data table. Now you go into the columns, you will have listing of columns. And in this listing of columns, what exactly do you need? I'm not interested in all of this. Just interested in customer key, first name, last name, marital status, gender. That's it. And click OK. And now what I am trying to do is, since I have 4 to 5 different columns available in the source, my requirement is to get only the female customers in one female table and male customers in one male table. So for that, what I can do, I can go into this is where we use transformation to do the processing. So if we go into the transformation, you will have a component called conditional split. So drag and drop the conditional split and keep an arrow here, open up the conditional split. You will have 1, 2, 3 different environments available here. This environment shows you the existing variables and the column list. So where exactly do you want to perform? Do you want to perform it in variable, or you want to perform in columns? In my case, I want to perform in columns. So what is the condition? The condition is if gender is equal to female. Let me check if that is called female or is called F. This is my table available here, and you can check the gender values also. So it's M and F. So we'll go with M and F there. So case 1, this is the condition you're trying to give in the transformation, and here is the output name, and the output name should not be case 1, it should be female information. This is alternative. You can you want to alter, you can alter, you want to keep as it is, you can keep it. But for a very informative data, you have to alter and give a reasonable naming convention. It's female data, and again now it's male data. Right. So in case you have any other data, right, normally we also have some other gender. So I will leave it blank, and it can be taken care in the default output. Let's see if that has any other data or not, if this has any other apart from females or not. If yes, it will have. No, it will not take it to that. So now we have configured one good condition here. Now we'll move on with transferring it to destination. Now I want to transfer it to not to the same database in the database Adventurous Works, but I want to have a table available in Target. For that, I need to create the structure of the table where I'm trying to extract the data. So this, again, creating a structure in SQL Server is a manual work. We'll go ahead and rather create in SSIS itself. So I'm interested with OLADB connection, one table for female, another connection, another table for male, another connection, another table for unknown gender. If you want, you can also navigate it to one file, whatever file you want to go with. So now I'm going with, here it is asking you the output column. Which output column do you want? I want male already. So it's configured to male data, and since you don't have the connection here of target table, if you go into the drop down, I already have a target database connection here, and since I don't have a configured table, I want to create a new table. So I do not want to go into SQL Server to create the table. So what I'll do is just click new, and for me it will create a new table, and you can rename the table here, and the table name is, this is male data already. Now it's the important point here to come in and map all the source to destination values. Let's say some cases it is ignored. So in the destination you will not get any first names. So these are the things which we need to take care in real time, if everything is configured correctly or not. So now it is configured properly and it's done. For male it's done. Now I'm going with female. So we want to load the female data. Now the same process. Come in here into the target database. I need to have the female data table created. Already. So we're done with creating a female data, and we're done with the mapping. And if you want to also get the unknown, you can drag and drop. This is the unknown gender. If you have values with unknown genders into the dim customer table, it will for you create an unknown gender table also, unknown gender table data also. Already. And then we go in mapping. Mapping is map. Now we have a pretty much good sample project created. Now I am trying to execute the package, and let's see what happens. You can come in here, you can execute the package. See what happens. So it says the SMTP server sendmail task is not configured. Obviously, I do not have the SMTP server connections with me to keep this server here. So what I'll do, just as a process, I'll disable this. And I'll try and rerun the package. However, in real time, you will have the SMTP server connectivity from your administrator. If you go in here, you can see the server names, all things in the connection property wherein you navigate. You have to give the name of the server, which in real time a database administrator can only give you. Now let me run the package. and once you run the package, it will start with this. It will go in this. If it fails, it will navigate to this. If not, it will not navigate. So it's in the process. It is successful. It is not navigating. Let's go in. You see there are 9,351 records with mail data. Let us check in our database if we successfully get this data or not. So we can go in into the target. This is what we have configured at the destination. So let's start from, and the database table is mail data. So you already have it. Intelligence will give you the name automatically. So you have the data and all the genders of mail, and if you see the count of the data, it's the same. What you see in SSIS is 9,351, and you get 9,351. And you see here it's the 9,133 records which are inside the female data. Let us check that also. So intelligence gave you the name what you're trying to enter. Now if you enter, you see the same record set of values available, and all are of female. But unfortunately, we don't get any data here because in dim customer table, we don't have any data which belongs to other gender apart from male and female. So this is how a basic ETL transformation works. So we have looked into the transformation of just SQL Server and different databases, different servers. We can also work with different servers. We can also work with different file systems as well. So with that said, let us continue with our PPT. So we have transformations wherein we can aggregate the values. Let's say you have to aggregate the cost of each product. So that time you can go with some of the products, and it will give you the total cost, what happened on this product. And similarly, you have a lot of other things. We just saw condition split in other sessions when we work with SSIS. We'll go with all these transformations in great detail. Now, similarly, you have data conversion transformation, which is used to typecast your data, which means used to convert varchar to integer to float, whatever you want, you can convert it and you can dump it into your database. And derived column is one of the important concepts which we need to look into, and this derived column transformation are also used to convert the data, cast the data, manipulate the data, calculate the data. Everything we can do in just one derived transformation, which is very important, and we will look into it in next session. Now similarly, you have a lot of other transformations which are used. Now you see merge join, and merge join is very similar to what you do in SQL Server, merging of two tables. That is what we also do in SSIS. If you go into the toolbox, you will have one kind of transformation called merge transformation. And where it is, should be here somewhere. So that is about, I'm looking at in control flow. Let me go into data flow, and I can look into transformations, and I can find the merge transformation here. This is how merge join transformation is available in transformation. So now these transformations, as we know, we have to take two different sources, one source, another source. Let me show you examples which I already have in place. So that you get a basic idea, or else I also have it in a PPT. So let me show you the diagrammatic flow of, this is how we create and we saw in practical also how do we create the project. And we go with integration services, and these are the control flow tab. This is the data flow, and in toolbox you have the components available in control flow. And in here in the solutions right side you have the package details available. Now if you drill down, you also get other things like data flow and a lot of other components. If you go in, this is a simple package which is trying to load the data from a flat file. So we are taking the flat file as the connection, and in flat file connection we are trying to connect the flat file, and we are trying to give the location of the flat file. A flat file is also called a text file and is also called CSV file, which is called comma separated file, which is a notepad for us. So in here you will go and browse for the file, and you will select the file, and you will locate the columns. And if you select this is the column checkbox, which takes, if you are selecting this, it holds the first data, which are the columns. Right now again you go in, and if you see here, you're directly dumping the data of CSV files into a table called employee. And these CSV files, any value in CSV file, even if it is 1 or 2, is considered as a string value. So for that, in here, in between of this transformation, we can have one transformation called typecast data conversion transformation. If you go in here, let me navigate to any of the package. And in here, you will have in the data flow task. If you go in the data flow, you will have in transformation typecast transformation called data conversion, which is used to convert the data. Now, so you can convert the data, you can load. These are all about connections we already spoke about. And if there are 2 rows, the 2 rows are loaded. This is what it says. And about merge join, as I've told you, I will show in the PPT itself. I have 2 tables available here, and I want to load the 2 tables from the flat file. This is taken as source, this is taken as the another table, first table and the second table, which needs to be merged joined, and I'm trying to navigate. If I directly navigate it, it will give me an error saying you have to sort the data before you go ahead and navigate it. So that is what the error you have in the list. It says each sort property should be true. So you can do it in 2 to 3 different ways, solving this error. One is just going in the advanced property of each files and setting the each sorted property true, or you can take a transformation. See again, transformation, how important are transformation in this session. You will have one sort transformation by which you can sort the data, or you can directly, if it is OLADB destination, you can give order by clause and the data is sorted. So one error can be solved in many ways. That is what we will be looking in our session. So now it is configuring. See the value. How do we go into the file, and we are navigating it into the each sorted property, sorted key property to 1, and also we are navigated each sorted property. This was false. We should make it true in the file source. So this was the first example I was telling about. And then we have joined, and in join, if you see, you will have inner join and right join, left join, and outer join. Right join is not there. So when you do left join, this swap button will be enabled, and if you swap it, it will swap the table and it will become the right outer join. And another option you will have in this drop down is full outer join. So almost inner, left, right, and full. So four type of joins available in join. Once you join the data, you want to load it into destination, and you will get a consolidated data in here with join. So this is how we use the SSIS, and we also have a lot of other tools and transformations. We go in great detail in coming sessions, and we come on the solutions of providing these many complex projects. So the complex project I will be walking you through in my SSIS is the customer information project detail. So this is the real-time project what I will be explaining in our sessions, and this, to understand this project, maybe for me to explain it might take easily 2 hours, and for you to understand it might take some time, and practice it might take 2 to 3 days for you to just practice it successfully. So this is what overall SSIS is, what I will be covering in my session, which all includes real-time practical information and what scenario, which transformation you would like to use. And we can also move on with SSRS once we are done with SSIS concept. And in SSRS, you again have a lot of other different concepts, which we can talk about in great detail, not now, but I will just walk you through the architecture and things of that nature. So in SSRS, you have many things. SSRS basically deals with, let me show you in an example of PPT what I have. If you come in here, you see this is basically, this is the diagram wherein you have lot of different OLATP system. You know, this system, it consists of lots and lots of files, or may consist of different databases from where you need to extract the data. Once you extract the data, you have a transformation stage. Alright, so this is the transformation stage, and here we will load the data. So after loading the data needs to be represented to the business users. So to represent the data to business users, we will use these reporting services, and we will generate the reports. And these reports, a business user can view it, these reports, and can decide on what kind of data it is. So in our course content, we will mainly go with SQL Server concepts initially. What is SQL Server and what type of different complex queries we can use in SQL Server, and a lot of many things. When we talk about SQL Server, if you're talking about, we have a lot of things in place which we can work with SQL Server. You have a lot of things. You have keys, you have constraints, indexes, normalization process, relationships, approaches, functions, triggers, procedures, constraints, conditions. We will go with all these concepts one by one in great detail in SQL Server, and then we will go with SSIS, what we just saw, and we will complete the SSIS concept. And once we are done with SSIS, we will have one good real-time project in SSIS. And after completion of this real good project, we will go in developing the SSRS reports. And the SSRS reports, it's again a lot of things included in SSRS, different types of reports we can generate in SSRS. And we will also look in the administration side of SSRS to provide security to migrate the reports from one platform to another platform. So this is what all about my course content and what I will be covering in my session. And that's it for today. All right. So once we do the process of development of SSIS or SQL Server or SSAS, SSRS, you will also be provided with the materials what we did in class, I will be sending you all the the packages what we have developed in SSIS, and I'll also be sending you the backend SQL Server queries what we run and execute. And with that, I will also send the whole PPTs so that you have the process in place. So these all things will be there, and daily you will be having few kind of assignments wherein you need to work on those assignments and come back. And if in case you have any kind of questions on those assignments, we will be able to discuss.